Coming in trickles, not in droves just yet, as we count down to the end of the month. But let's take a look at how the markets finished off yesterday. We still see broad sell-off across major counters at the Nigerian stock market as the market extended losses for a second trading day owing to sell pressure on bellwethers. The all-share index dropped 17 basis points to finish at 25,514.09, with market capitalization at 8.82 trillion naira. Of course, in spite of the rather disappointing numbers from Lafarge Africa, you notice that it was still among the top gainers for yesterday. But at the end of trade, let's take a look at how volume and value looked like. Volume came in at 198.83 million, valued at 2.52 billion naira, and we saw total transactions at 2,306. And for the NASDAQ OTCs market, and that's a segment of the market that takes care of unlisted securities, no change in the USI, which came in at 624.51. Market capitalization remains at 422.63. Volume at the end of the day was 1 million, largely owing to increased over 90% trading on Central Securities Clearing System. So we saw volume at 1 million, value at 7.19 million naira, and total number of deals at 12. Let's talk about the fixed income segment of the market now. Investors were downbeat in the Treasury bills market, with average yield moving northward by 15 basis points to 17.08%. But let's take a look at the top four of the 28 benchmark Treasury bills on the FMDQ OTCs market. Notice the top four remain bills around the short and medium dated bills, that is. So investors were particular about the bill maturing on the 20th of April, which had a discount high of 15.40 and a value of 62 billion naira recorded at the end of trade. The bill maturing on the 27th of April, 18th of May and 25th of May also had investors in a tizzy. And we see the various discount highs recorded at the end of trade. This was at 2 p.m. yesterday. Total number of deals came in at 1,034. Value of 267.05 billion naira was recorded. And for the bonds market, that also closed on a bearish note. Notice that transactions came in at 140 with a value of 14.51 billion naira recorded. But these were the top four of... Let's quickly go back to that. The top four of the 7 benchmark FGN bonds, that's it, on the FMDQ OTCs market. Particular investors had particular reference or preference for the bond maturing on the 18th of March 2036, which had about 60 transactions recorded and a price high of 79.10. For the S&P Nigeria Bond Index, that came in at 270.81, also bearish, with 29 basis points recorded drop, and month to date is at 2.73%, and the year to date is at 3.30%. The money market overnight rate eased about 56 basis points, 55.67%, that is to 44.42% from Tuesday's close of 100.08%, despite a further decline of 5.19% in system liquidity to a deficit balance of 220.36 billion naira. But notice expansion across the various other rates. The 1-month NIBOR rate expanded 20 basis points to 16.94%, while the 3- and 6-month NIBOR rate expanded 11 and 10 basis points apiece to birth at 21.24 and 23.40% respectively. And to the currencies markets, for the first time in almost 6 months, we saw the naira appreciating at the parallel segment of the market yesterday. Well, it finished at 410 naira to the dollar, with the British pound at 510 and the euro at 435. And of course, it is not unconnected to the constant intervention from the Central Bank of Nigeria into the currencies market, wherein a lot of we've seen yesterday, we saw the forwards futures, of course, maturing, and investors were quite excited about this. But at that segment of the market, as the interbank over the counter now, the Naira is at 307 Naira 75 kobo. Most analysts continue to argue that the Naira is still largely undervalued, even though there's been growing calls for a further devaluation of the Naira. But the Central Bank of Nigeria has promised to continue to intervene in the currencies market to ease pressure off the local currency. So when we come back in just a moment, we'll still continue our focus on the markets, but we'll talk a little bit more about the energy market. The numbers are looking quite mixed and across board, at least for most of the major counters, most of the major equities, the recorded price appreciations, percentage depreciations at the end of midweek trade at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. We'll also get to focus on commodities market, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, we'll talk a little bit more about two of the results that came into the Nigerian Stock Exchange yesterday, the result from Lafarge Africa and from Stanbic IBTC Holdings. How are investors going to be reacting to these numbers? We'll get the head of research at GTI Securities, Chukwuma Anyanwu, to talk to us on the program about these results and how impressed they are with it and how impressed the market will be by the results. And of course, don't forget, our focus on the program also will be on the banks. They're getting less resilient to macroeconomic challenges, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria, which has been further re-echoed by international ratings agency Fitch. So that's the package for the rest of for the next 45 minutes or so. You can join the conversation on Twitter. You know where to find us. We're at Biz Morning. You can also tweet at Channels TV. You can tweet at me. I'm at CTV Harriet, and at B Bolson will also be glad to mind your business. Business Morning continues right after now. Stay with us.